But if you're free, I have an extra ticket to the Warriors and Oil Kings game in Moose Jaw tonight if you want to join me. I would love to, but I can't. To quote Sammy Seafood Sam, I'm busy.
How about that?
Where's Seafood Sam? Moved to Calgary. He's busy.
Yeah.
But thank you, Glenn.
Muna.
Big shots.
Sitting up there with the Russian national coach at the press conference.
Guy ran a seafood restaurant in Saskatoon, okay? His name was Seafood Sam. That was the name of the restaurant. And the Saskatoon Blades would bring him down to coach the All-Star or the intra-squad game, and he'd start brawls. And
I remember hearing the story about Daryl Lubanicki. They told the guys, no more fights. And so all of a sudden there's a fight, and then they drop the puck, and then there's another fight. There's another.
He's coaching the intra-squad
One
game. Kid
had fought 3 times. So Daryl Lubanicki said, I'm going to put an end to this. And he walks around the rink, and he comes over to the kid who's had 3 fights, and he says, what is going on around here? And the kid says, that Chinese guy keeps sending me out to beat out of that. So he had to go to this Seafood Sam, who was this little 5'2" Chinese fellow who owned their local restaurant.
Seafood Sam's.
And tell him to knock it off.
No more fights.
How about that? Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Do you believe in sports curses? Mike White, who's supposed to be the next big thing with the Jets, goes down in the first quarter, but they're saying there's got to be a curse on the Jets. And our question to you, the viewers, is do you believe in sports curses? Can't make up my mind whether I believe in them or not. Because on one hand, I say the harder you work, the luckier you get. But on the other hand, I'm very spiritual and believe there's a plan and all the rest, so I don't know.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. That's a fact. Welcome to the RP Show. It is your favorite daytime sports talk show. It's Canada's daytime sports talk show, but we air all across Canada in 31 U.S. states and also on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE. Shout out Ryan O'Radio down there. He runs it all. He's running this show on the radio side and also the streams. I'm here in the beautiful South Florida studio, as you can see, where it's game day. The Florida Panthers welcoming the Ottawa Senators tonight. It's almost a friends and family game. Only friends and family care. We'll talk about that later. Let's bring the Moose in. He's in Toronto, which was, as usual, for last night, the center of the universe last night. The Blue Jays and the Leafs played, and everybody, they both won. So, Moose, everybody must be in a good mood, I would think, in Hogtown today.
Yeah, so far, everybody seems like they're in a good mood, and the sky is not falling when it comes to the hockey team or the baseball team, at least for a few hours today.
Our guests today are Pittsburgh Penguins radio voice Josh Getzoff and veteran broadcaster Andy McNamara, betting expert, Cleveland Browns podcast host, former voice of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Andy McNamara, with us in hour 2. Can you hit the Quick Six show horn, please, Director Jordan? We'll just quit Mickey Mousing and start talking sports. Although I want, as we do every day, Darren, I want people to have fun. So keep an open mind. The big story, not on a coffee row that I would be part of, but I feel like on a lot of coffee rows, the big story is this. The Yukon Huskies delivered the latest of their suffocating basketball beatdowns, smothering the Purdue Boilermakers on Monday night for a 75-60 victory to become the first team since 2007 to capture back-to-back NCAA men's basketball championships. Tristan Newton scored 20 points for the Huskies, who won their 12th straight March Madness game. Zach Edey of Toronto led the Boilermakers with 37 points, but I believe he was the only one on his team with double digits, so he couldn't do it alone. And I'll be honest with you, it was exciting. Here's my thing. It's my commentary today. March Madness is one part great basketball, equal part great marketing. It's over. It was an exciting month. It's the paradox that March Madness ends in April, but whatever. It's a 68-team tournament. You can't all fit it into a month. It tipped off at 9:20 Eastern, so no, I wasn't around to see the finale last night. But I know everybody's talking about it, all of it, I guess. Men's college basketball is a bigger thing than I thought on both sides of the border. What's your take on it? The big story.
It was a little anticlimactic on the finish because UConn was just so much better than Purdue at the end. They're so much better than everybody else, it felt like. You talk about their wins. The game was really good in the first half, and right up until Purdue kind of let it slip away just before halftime. They were right there till just before halftime, and the second half was pretty much going through the motions. But, you know, it was cool. March Madness was awesome. It was fun to follow. It was cool that a Canadian and Zach Edey was there and doing his thing. But, yeah, fun tournament, and UConn wins their second in a row.
Well, you know, it's really cool. We're at the precipice. I don't know what it is. We're in a strange time, and things have not totally evolved yet. They are evolving, and I don't know if I'm going to be around to see where it ends. I.e., just for spits and giggles, I went to tsn.ca today, which, you know, I used to go to every day. I just wanted to see what was running on the main page at tsn.ca. Here's what I wrote down, Darren. March Madness, Zach Edey's basketball future, World Women's Hockey, Team USA Women's highlights, and that was the whole front page. I'm not anti-NCAA, and I'm not anti-women's hockey, but what I'm saying is, where's the Blue Jays? Where's the NHL? This is strange to me, right? When did that become sports that people care more about in Canada? Okay, so there's that. But having said that, things change. And I'm not going to be a dinosaur. I'm just trying to pick up on how things are changing here, because Jelly Roll, somebody called Jelly Roll, won 3 country music awards Sunday night at the CMA Awards. What do you think George Strait thought sitting on his couch in San Antonio, Texas, with this guy with his face tattoos and winning 3 country music awards? What do you think, George? He thought the same thing I did last night or this morning. Where the hell did I grow up? What's going on here? That's what I think. So I don't know where this is going, man. What a ride. What a ride.
I know. On the one hand, it's kind of cool. I mentioned yesterday, you talked about Jelly Roll, and, you know, Post Malone, who obviously I know, but never listened to his music, has started becoming a little bit of a country artist. And I love it, man. I'm here for it. I think it's great. He sounds good. He's embracing it.
Why not?
Everybody's, why not? On the TSN thing, it's interesting. I just think I think for me, that's a nature of how short our news cycle is. It's even shorter than we thought. Because I bet you last night at about 10 o'clock, it would have been Jays win, Leafs win, would have been all over the front page. And literally 2 hours later, it's old news because the NCAA happened. And the women's hockey game was a little bit later in the night or whatever. You know, I feel like it's just moving so fast. You can't even, if you're checking the news the next morning, you're too late.
Right. Who would have thought that I would go to tsn.ca and want more Leaf coverage than what I'm seeing? Who would think that? But, and by the way, there's only one country music radio station here. It's like 99.1 FM. And every time I go to it, which is once a month, I turn it off. I don't like it because of what they're playing. It's bad. It's crap to me. But I was driving between Austin and San Antonio. It was the fall of 2019. Austin to San Antonio. It's a little corridor down there in southeast Texas. And I was listening to the radio, and there was a radio station, 98K Vet, Austin's country original. And they were playing Toby Keith and George Strait once an hour, minimum, maybe more. Kenny Chesney, Merle Haggard. I picked up the phone and called my buddy Perry Nice. I said, Perry, it still exists. These stations still exist, but they're very rare. And it's Austin, Texas, 98K Vet, Austin's country original. Anyways, we're a sports show, I think, not an entertainment show, so we move on. Point 2, Jose Barrios threw 6 2/3 shutout innings, and Davis Schneider drove in 2 runs. Not Davis Sanchez. Wouldn't that be something? Davis Schneider drove in 2 runs as Toronto defeated the Seattle Mariners 5-2 in the Blue Jays home opener at Rogers Center. Berrios allowed a walk and 4 hits and had 6 strikeouts as Toronto improved to 5-6 in front of a sellout crowd of 40,069. J.P. Crawford and Cal Raleigh hit solo homers for Seattle, who fell to 4-7. The teams play again tonight in Toronto. So I couldn't find the game. Quite frankly, I had to settle for the Leafs and the Penguins. I flipped all over the place, and I couldn't find the Blue Jays game. I wanted to watch it more than anything because it was the home opener. That is my baseball team. I couldn't find it. So I went online this morning, read the quote from John Schneider, the manager, that this was a complete ball game. And I just find it interesting that yesterday's poll question ended in this. The question was, what's your worry level, high, medium, or low for the Blue Jays? High won. High. Like 61% of the vote. Last night looked like a perfect ball game for the Blue Jays, and tonight you're going. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Seattle's had a tough start to the year too, but these are the games you need to win and, get the mojo back. And they did that last night. Hopefully they can do it again, tonight and go on a bit of a roll because the Yankees are out to a hot start. Tampa's, playing well. You got to keep pace in a really tough division that's just a meat grinder every year.
Yeah, well, now 11 games into the season, everybody can chill out. By the way, diving into the comments for a second, at all our own peril, John in Edmonton writes in, he says, Rod, then buy Sirius XM and listen to Willie's Roadhouse if I don't like the country music that I'm getting. Well, my satellite radio's broken because here's what this dummy did. I took the satellite receiver back last time I was in Canada, and I scraped my windshield with it because of ice, and I broke the damn thing. I broke it. And now it doesn't work. It's all wound up in my glove compartment here of my Jeep, but it ain't in the bus. It's not working. That was my fault. I don't miss scraping my windshield, Moose. Do you feel like you got something to say?
I did that once with my banking card, the debit card. And I was going somewhere and I needed to use it, like pay for my gas, and the thing snapped in half. And I didn't have any money. Awful.
Guy, what used to work great? Cassettes and
CDs.
CD cases.
Yes.
Right. What the hell do we use now? Buy a windshield scraper, Rod. Why would I do that when I have a CD or a cassette? Brent in Florida writes in, and he says, if Beyonce can go country, why not a little Jelly Roll? Hey, listen. George Strait and Alan Jackson were singing about this 20 years ago. We're just all catching up to it now. Gone country, look at them boots. 20 years ago, they were singing about this. We all just caught up now. Where the hell are those guys? Where are they? Retired, counting their money. Ryan in Saratoga, New York writes, and he says, I was at last night's Yankees-Marlins game. Nestor Cortez kept the Marlins in the dark with a 2-hit shutout on the day of the eclipse. It was a fun day. I looked up, by the way, years of the solar eclipse all time. It was 1979. I told you that I was 9 when it happened when I was a kid. I was actually 6. I'm sorry, I'm getting old and my mind's starting to go. But I feel like you got suckered into the hype and you actually felt that the temperature changed. I saw your post. I saw your tweet. Oh, did the temperature drop, Moose, for the solar eclipse? Or was it a placebo effect, do you think?
No, I think it actually did. I was into it, but I wasn't into it. I'm like, you know what? We're here. Let's at least go look at it. But I wasn't geeked up and going to drive to Niagara Falls to watch it like everybody else did around here, where that was supposed to be the spot where it was going to be a perfect eclipse. But, went outside. I'm like, I wanted it to get pitch black. Like, I thought it was going to be like, turn the lights out. It's instantly nighttime, and it's not happening. And then, then the sun starts to come back out, then it goes back. And then all of a sudden, it actually did get quite dark. The street lights came on. And it was kind of neat to see it change from day to night and then night back to day. So, you know what? It was cool. It was cool.
Oddly enough, in 1979, there was almost as much hype for that eclipse as there was for the one yesterday. I'm not even joking, and we didn't even have the internet. We barely had color TV. And I remember then, just as yesterday, it was, oh, this is kind of underwhelming. Next. Ryan O'Radio checks in. He says, the RP show, Atlanta's NHL show. Yeah, let's get back to the NHL talk. Other than Carlos in Indianapolis says, people who normally aren't into basketball will still get into March Madness now and then. That's the thing. It only lasts a month. You can't say it lasts too long like the NHL season, or it's too short like the NFL season. They want to add games. Kevin the Medium chiming in. Good morning, RP peeps. Oh, and Ryan O'Radio, I love when the guy that's running the controls of the show is actually listening to the show. This is new for me. Ryan O'Radio from WQEE writes in. He says, Alan Jackson, Noonan's hometown boy. I wonder where Alan Jackson was from. And maybe when we come back, I'll tell you some Alan Jackson stories or two. They're all good. They're all good. He's a great guy. Here's the story and how this show is different from every other one. I think by now we know that on episode number 1218. My lawyer, my personal attorney, William Howe, as you know, is one of the owners of the Craven Country Jamboree. And he also, as far as I'm concerned, runs it. So he's dealt with all the great singers that have come through there. The King, George Strait, Kenny Chesney, Keith Urban, Alan Jackson. And a lot of times these guys want to go into Regina. It's about, what, a 17-mile jaunt? And they want to work out or go for lunch or whatever. So Alan Jackson went to Gold's Gym in the Northwest in the Norman View Mall. Imagine Alan Jackson running beside you on the treadmill. I think he's like 6'4", and I kind of picture him in a cowboy boots and Wranglers and a muscle shirt running at Gold's. That's what in my mind, right? Can you imagine running beside him going, that looks like, no, that can't be. No, it was Alan Jackson. He worked out at Gold's Gym, jumped in his truck because they gave him a big crew cab 4x4. He goes back out to Craven, and they won't let him in at the front gates. We all know where that is, right where that creek crosses. They wouldn't let him in. And he's sitting there going, I'm Alan Jackson. They're like, yeah, right, buddy. That actually happened, Darren. The only reason that I knew was they had to call my lawyer, Bill. Thank God Alan Jackson had his number in his phone, called him and said, yeah, let him in. He's performing tonight, for the love of God. Wake up. A lot of stories there, too, right?
Be honest, though. We watched a lot of shows, and you called it, what'd you call it yesterday? The Mississippi of the North, Saskatchewan? A lot of guys that look like Alan Jackson rolling around with the mullets and the jeans and the cowboy boots.
There's a lot of guys that look like Jelly Roll rolling around there, too. John in Edmonton says Jelly Roll isn't allowed to tour Canada because of his criminal past. Yeah, but we'll give him 3 country music awards. When we come back, we'll get down to business more. I told you we were going to have fun today. I hope everybody is. We'll be right back. Josh Getzoff and Andy McNamara on the way. We are live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Personal shout-out alert before we go any further. Personal shout-out alert. John Glowa, if you're watching the program, please reveal yourself. Please, I have a personal message for you that I will air if you're watching, but I'm waiting to make sure John's watching. And by the way, folks, reward your love of movies. Sign up for Landmark Extras for free today. Get more of what you love. Free movies and concession items, invitations to exclusive screenings, special events, and more. There are 3 programs to choose from to fit your active life, or maybe not active life. Just it'll fit your life. Visit landmarkcinemas.com for details. If we can bring the Moose back in, and you're going to see why this is a personal message, Moose, for John Glowa. John, let me know if you're watching, because I'm not going to say this unless you're watching. Last night's NHL games feel like so last night. And there were only 2, thank God, so I'll run through them real fast. Connor Garland's second goal of the game, scored at 18:31 of the second period, snapped a 3-3 tie, and lifted the Vancouver Canucks to a 4-3 come-from-behind victory over the visiting Vegas Golden Knights. Ho, ho, ho. The Canucks padded their Pacific Division lead to 5 points over the idle Edmonton Oilers. And Jake McCabe's goal at 1:30 of overtime lifted the Maple Leafs to a 3-2 win over the visiting Pittsburgh Penguins. Austin Matthews scored his 65th goal of the season early in the third to give the Leafs a 2-1 lead. But DOC, Drew O'Connor, that's his nickname amongst his family, I learned. Drew O'Connor scored to tie it late and force overtime. Moose, I thought it was a boring game. I did. Sorry. How much of it did you watch, the Leafs and Pens last night?
Quite a bit. Yeah, it was good at times. There was some urgency at times, but for the most part, you got 2 teams that should have a lot of firepower, and you end up in a 1-1 game going into overtime. So, yeah, not a lot of what you expected. I expected more of like a 5-4 back and forth type of game. We never got it, and with just 2 games on the schedule, we end up in a push on our breakaway bet. So tonight will be fun.
Yeah, we won each. We're right last night. Pittsburgh and Detroit are tied for the final wild card playoff berth with 84 points. So to tonight's games, that is the poll question today. Enough with the Blue Jays, which I just mentioned yesterday's poll question. I said, what's your concern level? Kim Kret writes in, watching in Saskatoon, and says, my worry level is high regarding the Jays. Pitching rotation is questionable. Offense sputters worse than an old Massey 44 tractor. The days of the 80s and 90s Jays when the batting lineup and pitching rotation was geared are long gone. Write this down. Jays do not make the playoffs this year. Well, Darren actually said it last week. Worrying is like rocking in a rocking chair. Gives you something to do, but don't get you anywhere. So if you want to be worried, you go and be worried, but we're not. So the poll question today is, what's the game of the night in the National Hockey League? And I guess it depends on your definition of such, because the four that we came up with are Washington at Detroit, Rangers at Islanders, Carolina at Boston, or Winnipeg at Nashville. That's of a 3, 6, 9, 10 game, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 game slate in the National Hockey League tonight. So there's a lot of games, and a lot of them are good. Interestingly enough, leading the way is Carolina and Boston. In Boston. That surprises me a little bit. I'm not going to say you're wrong. That's why we have sports talk to talk about these things. Sure, that'll be a hell of a game, and maybe that's the definition of the game of the night. It's maybe a playoff preview. They're not going to meet in round one, but they could meet somewhere down the line. Carolina at Boston. But for me, it's Washington at Detroit. They're flirting around that final playoff line, that second wild card spot. There by a mile to me, it's Washington, Detroit. You?
Shouldn't be close. I'm with you. It shouldn't be close.
No.
You know, Washington's lost, I believe, 6 in a row. They need to turn it around. Detroit's we thought they were finished. They've kind of stayed in the mix. It's a game with a ton of intrigue. And almost to the point that whoever loses this game is going to be in some real trouble. So I think absolutely it's the game of the night.
As I say, the text line's open, 902-518-3033. I'm upset that John Gloa isn't watching because he watches every day. Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic craft beers. Ask for it by name at your local beer, wine, and spirit store. Because this doesn't make... Is that not funny unless he's watching? I went to King and Kong, or what is it, Kong and Godzilla yesterday. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. I mean, let's get past the fact that it's going to be basically computer generated, and it's like if I wanted to watch that, I'd play a video game, but it wasn't all computer generated. He made the joke, John Gloa, that he went to Landmark Cinemas and watched King Kong and Godzilla on the weekend, and he said, spoiler alert, there's no mating scene in it. And what I wanted to say is, get that ready, Clark. What I wanted to say is, you didn't tell me your ex-mother-in-law was starring as Godzilla, John. Hot damn! But he's not watching. It's not as funny if he's not watching. It's so funny, though. It's so funny. And there were 3, 4, 5 of us in the theater. 5 of us in the theater. Very comfortable. I really enjoyed myself. It was a 2:20 p.m. showtime. I got more, but I will move on. Ryan in New York continues. He said, I voted Capitals Wings. The Caps are only a point behind in the wild card standings. Hope it's a good one. And I hope it's not a 3-point game. I hope it's a 4-point game. I hope there are no loser points handed out because that really muddles things up. Carlos liked that joke. The Barflies in Winnipeg says, is it because you identify with Godzilla? John Ohm showed up. He says, how about them Jays last night? Liking the new ballpark in Toronto. Press rewind, John. We covered it. Kirk in Toronto writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line. Hi, Rod. Kirk from Toronto here. My mom worked at the Edison Hotel on Yonge Street in the 1960s, and some famous country acts played there. Met some singers, but don't remember other than the big blonde hair, as I was very young. Well, if it was 80s and rock, you would think that could be guys. But if it was 60s, you would think it was country singers, and probably Tammy Wynette would be my guess in the 60s. So thank you, Kirk. I appreciate that. I'll remind all and sundry we are on national television in Canada, so we talk about Canadian topics and sprinkle in some American. If you don't like that, go somewhere else. So point 4 is this. The Calgary Stampeders will add former head coach and GM Wally Buono to their wall of fame, the CFL team announced Monday. Buono joined the Stampeders as an assistant coach in 1987 before becoming head coach in 1990. He remained in that post through 2002, leading Calgary to top spot in the West Division 7 times, 6 Grey Cup appearances, and 3 victories. He had GM duties in 1992. He holds the franchise records for most games coached, most wins, playoff wins, and championships. And then some idiot owner fired him. So he goes to join the BC Lions as head coach and general manager in 2003 and remained with the club until retiring after the 2018 season. As we were talking about in the morning meeting today, idiot owners aren't a new thing. I mean, it became very hard to believe that at the 2002 Grey Cup in Edmonton, the owner of the Calgary Stampeders, Michael Federick, was because his kid quarterbacked the team. One was the owner, one was the quarterback. Michael, Kevin, Michael, whatever. It doesn't matter. We heard that the owner got liquored up at a cocktail party and started shopping around Wally Buono's services. Like, I started to sweat just thinking about it. These people should not be allowed to own sports teams. It was like over a shrimp. By the way, guys, I'm going to be firing Wally. Sorry, what did you just say? You're going to fire Wally? I just said, yeah, I'm going to fire him. He doesn't fit. We're going to change directions. And then he did fire him. And BC was like, we'll take him. Bobby Ackles turns that franchise around on a dime. Idiot owners, Darren. Not new. I'm not really sure what my point is, other than it's taken over 20 years for Wally Buono to be properly honored by the Calgary Stampeders. And I don't know if we're going to be around or not. I mean, we're going to be in Canada this summer. I don't know where I'm going to be in that date of that July game, but should be a good night. I hope it'd be nice if they sold it out. I would be disgusted if they didn't sell it out, actually, in Calgary for a Wally Buono night, if that's what they're calling it.
It's cool. You know, Wally is such an icon in the game in this country. And, you know, with those two franchises, I mean, I grew up with Wally as the coach of the Calgary Stampeders. Absolutely. So it's great. Long overdue, but good for him and good for the Stampeders for making it happen.
Darren in Utah, Darren writes, and he says, regarding my movie review of Kong and Godzilla, sounds like people's reaction to the UFL. It wasn't terrible. LOL. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, you have the story a little off. If you want the real story, read Bobby Ackles, The Waterboy. I did read it, bro. I've read everything. I was there. I don't need to read books. I was there. Point 5. Hockey Canada granted Landon Dupont, a 14-year-old defenseman from Calgary, exceptional player status on Monday. That means Dupont will be eligible for the Western Hockey League draft May 9th and be able to play next season at the age of 15. Connor Bedard was the last to do this. Dupont becomes the first defenseman and second player in league history to receive exceptional player status. As I just mentioned, Connor Bedard was the first. Dupont becomes the 9th player in Canadian Hockey League history to receive this designation. The others, John Tavares, Aaron Ekblad, Connor McDavid. How many times have you been asked if you're related? You're probably lying and saying you are, which, by the way, I look at photos of this kid. He's 14. He looks 30. He looks like an NHL Hall of Famer right now.
I know. Doesn't he? And his teeth, perfect teeth, great hair. Kid looks like he should be, walking the runway at the All-Star game in the National Hockey League next week. I mean, no, this is awesome. I've been asked about a dozen times about the relation. I haven't done the ancestry swab, sent it in the mail, but we're not related. This is Mickey Dupont's kid. Played a handful of games, some games in the National Hockey League, 350 games in the American League or so. That's whose kid it is. And you know what?
The former Kamloops Blazer? I did not know that. That's right. I didn't know that.
There you go. And from all accounts, I haven't watched him in person, but great skilled defenseman, IQ off the charts. You have to have those things to get exceptional status, and it's pretty cool. I always wondered what, my name would sound like getting called at the NHL draft. I think in a few years I'll get to experience that. Kind of neat.
Yeah. This kid, he just looks, some people are just born with it. Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta writes in and says, the collective negative energy from Jays fans is dragging the team down. We're only 10 games in. Right? Right. And I'm not here for it. You want to be negative? Take it out. Not here. Nope. Next hour, Darren, we'll talk some golf with you. You're going to be our golf guy. Congratulations. You're more than me. So do you say this? It's azaleas, right? The flowers at Augusta? Isn't it azaleas?
Azaleas, I think. Or is it azaleas?
Azalea?
I will know for next
I'm just
hour.
reading this. Forget the azaleas and dogwoods at Augusta National. Players are marveling over firm and fast conditions for the Masters. How long it lasts depends on one day of rain expected later in the week. Xander Schauffele says shots into par fives are bouncing across the turf. Tony Finau played a chip on the 11th hole. He couldn't keep on the green. Tiger Woods was out early with Will Zalatoris for 9 holes. Among those who used Monday as a day of rest was Akshay Bhatia, and for good reason. He just got into the Masters by winning the Texas Open. We'll kick that around an hour or two when you come back. And more. Thanks, Moose.
You bet. See you then.
The voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Josh Getzoff, joins us next as we talk some NHL. We are live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands.
Trust an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
When we talk hockey, it's brought to you by Common Crown Brewery in Calgary. And Jake McCabe's goal at 1:30 of overtime lifted the Maple Leafs to a 3-2 win over the visiting Pittsburgh Penguins Monday in Toronto. Josh Getzoff called it, and he joins us, the voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Josh, I'm going to jog your memory in a moment about the last time you joined us, but can you give me your take of that game last night, the 3-2 OT loss, at least a point on the road? How are you taking it? What was the team's takeaway?
Yeah, I think, Rod, and great to be with you again. I think that the overall arcing theme of the game is that you were happy to get a point. I think the Penguins felt like there was a possibility to get two in that game. And honestly, in the first period, they probably should have had more than one goal. I thought they were clearly the better team. To the Leafs' credit, they turned it up a notch in the second period and really took control at certain times. In the beginning of the third, it was all Toronto, leading to that Austin Matthews goal to give them the lead at the time. But Penguins, as they've been during this stretch now where they've earned a point in 9 straight games, they've had that resilience and they've had that persistence in their game and staying with it, which was not always there through the first, really, 70 games of the season, which is crazy to say. But now they've started to find that belief internally. And to their credit, they were able to poke one in with Drew O'Connor late, get that game to overtime. Unfortunate not to be able to get the extra point, but I think when you're looking at the schedule here, all eyes are focused on this showdown against Detroit on Thursday. So getting a point last night to at least keep pace and stay within striking distance is important.
Last time you were on, guys were just about to start that Western road trip. You were in Vancouver, and you said, we're going to find out what this team's all about over this trip. And then loss. I'm like, oh, now they're back, and all these points. Have you seen a roller coaster season like that? If this was a movie, nobody would believe it. This is insane, man. For the Penguins.
Yeah, they're in a position, Rod, if they get in, they'd make NHL history. They're the furthest amount of points out with 11 games to go, with I think it was 9 points with 11 games left. If they were to get in, no team has ever done that before. So that kind of puts in perspective just what they're trying to do right here. And you're right. That Western Canada trip, if we remember, it actually started out with an incredible victory in Vancouver. Erik Karlsson scores in overtime. You're thinking, oh man, that's 3 wins in a row. This team's starting to get going in the right direction. That was probably, the bookends of that trip were their 2 toughest games with Vancouver and then Edmonton. And you're looking at it, you're like, okay, Seattle and Calgary, these are winnable games here. Let's see what happens. They lose in Seattle in a game that they honestly probably should have won. Philip Grubauer was very good and shut them out. Then they go to Calgary, and they're up 3-1 with 8 minutes to go, and they blow the lead, as they've done a lot of times in frustrating fashion this year. The Flames get a late goal in regulation, which was the extra killer there from Yegor Sharangovich, who, as we know, is having a monster year for Calgary. They get the win. Penguins get thumped the next night in Edmonton, and at that point, I think the decisions were made on Jake Guentzel. The decisions were made on Chad Ruhwedel. And really, this team's chapter had been closed as far as this season was concerned, because it looked like they were just too far out. They couldn't find any kind of rhythm. And they looked like, as a team, that they had kind of lost belief. But something crazy happened when they went to New York and New Jersey early last week, when they were, 7 points out at the time, facing the Rangers back in MSG. And they had a stomach bug running through the team that took out a few guys. They were shorthanded. Guys were playing sick. They go in there and they win. Then the next night, they do something they've only done 4 times in 31 games this year, where they erase a third period deficit in New Jersey and win. And after that, I can tell you from my perspective, just being with the team and then calling the games, there started to be belief, because then you're not looking at 9 points, you're looking at 3 points. And 3 points with 9 games to go is a lot different than 9 points with 6 games to go. So now they're tied. They're tied with Detroit. They're tied with, I believe, the Capitals with that last playoff spot, and they're 2 points back of the Islanders. So the interesting thing about the Penguins is that they finished the season on the island against New York. So that sets up, as the schedule makers tend to sometimes hit a home run, that sets up to be potentially the game of the year in Game 82 for Pittsburgh.
And I don't know what changed. You do. You were there, so I'll ask you. But I was remiss. When you guys came through Sunrise, I didn't come look you up in the press box. That's my bad. But I was at the game, and I could not believe how hard Sidney Crosby was working, because Ovi has taken some nights off this year. Sidney has not. And you said you've been calling games and around the team for almost a decade. Has he just said, no, this isn't going to happen. I'm taking this team into the playoffs? Because he was I never seen him work so hard as he did that night.
Yeah, he's been, I mean, it's an easy word to describe Sidney Crosby because he's been this way his whole career. But this season, and you're right, really in the last month or so in particular, he's been a beast. I mean, he's taken it to a whole different level, and the team has kind of followed his lead. I don't want to say jumped on his back, because there's been a lot of guys that have been a part of this that have contributed in meaningful ways here over this stretch where the team's gotten points in 9 straight games. But Crosby is at the forefront of it, as you would expect if the Penguins are going to make any kind of run. And it's interesting, Rob, because I think when the trade deadline happened, he obviously loses his sidekick and a real staple here in Pittsburgh of Jake Gensel, who's a Stanley Cup champion, a guy who scored 40 goals, who just had an unbelievable chemistry with Crosby. And they were very close. I mean, when you win together, you build relationships. And Jake's been in the stall next to Sid since he came into the National Hockey League. So when he was traded away, and in a way, Kyle Dubas was not punting on this season, but saying, I think that I can get some assets now to keep us moving in the right direction, as opposed to just ride this out where I don't think it's going to go where we want it to go. I think the team as a whole was disappointed. I think they were miffed. I think Kyle Dubas kind of said that, in his press conferences and the talks that I had with him, that he understood the frustration, he understood the anger. And I think as that kind of fizzled and settled, that turned into motivation. Initially, it was shock. It was anger. There was a shoulder slump type of look to the Penguins when they were playing for a couple games there. But it's pivoted in a hardcore way right now, and it's determination. I think it's fuel to the fire that everyone thought they were done. And listen, I mean, people as close to the team thought they were done, but they've really turned it around and had an incredible run here. And they still control their own destiny as it pertains to their playoff fate. So it's crazy to say that. It's hard for us here as the broadcasters with 4 or 5 games to go to wrap your head around that, considering where things were pointing here for the last little bit. But that is the reality, and everyone's embracing it and excited about this final week of the season.
We only have a minute, but I enjoyed watching the intermission last night of the television broadcast of the Pens and seeing Brian Trottier. We have the heart of our viewers are Western Canadian. He's from Val Marie Sask. Do you have a quick Brian Trottier story? Just an absolute beauty. 6 Stanley Cups there with him. You must see him around.
Oh. Yeah, I see him all the time. He's great. We just added him this year to our TV broadcast team, and what an asset, as you mentioned, the cups, the experience, the stories, the knowledge. He's got it all, and he really brings it all to the forefront there in the studio for us. But as far as the story, I'm sure you know, but Trotz is a big guitar player, and we had him in the studio a couple, I guess this was like a month and a half ago, and he brought his guitar, and I wasn't sure why he brought it. And he said he just brings it in his car everywhere because sometimes it just feels like playing. And all of a sudden he starts breaking into Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, pulls out his guitar, sings the whole song start to finish. And, he can do that. He's got that Western Canadian, Central Canadian twang when he gets going. He has the sound, and he grew up in a musical family, and he's been playing the guitar his whole life. So it's just so funny to me that he's this guy that has had so much success, has such a reputation and such a pedigree, but couldn't be more down to earth, and has interests that are not all just hockey. I mean, like music and like his kids and everything like that. So just an awesome human, and we're lucky to have him here on a consistent basis in Pittsburgh.
Just an absolute gem. You're right. Well, we're lucky to have you on, Josh. You're a busy guy. Thanks for this. Good luck in the playoff push.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. I'll talk to you soon.
The radio voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Josh Getzoff. We'll be right back with a sports update and audience takeover right after this. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
I'm I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
One of hip-hop's finest, Ice Cube.
You better check yourself or you wreck yourself, 'cause I'm back.
Straight into Canada tour. April 28th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I can't believe today was a good day.
Among the most influential rappers of all time, Ice Cube. On sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, everybody. It is time for a sports update. And if we have time, some viewer comments. We have breaking news today out of the Canadian Elite Basketball League. They announced this morning that the Winnipeg Sea Bears, in collaboration with the province of Manitoba and the city of Winnipeg, have secured hosting rights for the league's 2025 championship weekend. So that's next year. For the first time ever, fans at Canada Life Centre in Winnipeg will witness the crowning of a CEBL champion in August 2025. Kristen Sims scored at 3:32 of overtime to give the USA a 1-0 victory over Canada at the Women's World Hockey Championship in Utica, New York. Both Group A teams went into the game at 3-0. There are 13 games in the NHL tonight, with 5 Canadian teams in action. The Montreal Canadiens entertain the Philadelphia Flyers, while the Ottawa Senators visit Florida. The New Jersey Devils host the Leafs. The Winnipeg Jets visit the Nashville Predators, and the San Jose Sharks host the Calgary Flames. There are several NHL games tonight with playoff implications, and that is our poll question today. Which of these is the game of the night? The Detroit Red Wings, who hold the Eastern Conference second wild card berth with 84 points, host Washington. The Caps have 83. The Islanders, who have won 4 in a row but haven't clinched a postseason berth, host the league-leading New York Rangers. And the LA Kings, who have yet to clinch a playoff berth, visit the lowly Anaheim Ducks, which, by the way, maybe we should get some hockey pundit or guru on, or maybe Darren and I could pretend to be that next hour and talk about who should be finalists for the NHL Coach of the Year right now, because, to be honest, with Lane Lambert being fired by the Islanders, when they were through here, the people in the press box at the Panthers game were going, nobody could coach this team. There's no talent. They fired Lane Lambert, and they bring in Patty Roy, and he's got him in a playoff spot. Coach of the Year, anybody? What's your criteria? I'm not saying it should be Patrick Roy. I'm saying we should have the discussion. Who should it be? And what is your criteria? Because to me, it's who overachieved, who did the best job of coaching. There's a lot of good candidates because it's the National Hockey League, and just so you know, they're the best of the best in the National Hockey League. The sports update is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing, as you all know, where they know the best beer is the one that's earned. Check them out at commoncrown.ca. And brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas, May 3rd, The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. He's a stuntman, and like everyone in the stunt community, he gets blown up, shot at, crashed, thrown through windows, and dropped from the highest of heights, all for our entertainment. And now this working-class hero has to track down a missing movie star, solve a conspiracy, and try to win back the love of his life while still doing his day job. What could possibly go right? In Landmark Cinemas, May 3rd, The Fall Guy. Randy from Winnipeg, any thoughts on the no-call high stick to Sidney Crosby's face? No. Regarding Wally Wano and the home game in July where they're adding him to the Wall of Fame, I said it would be embarrassing if they didn't sell that game out, $35,000 and change at McMahon. Paul in Humboldt writes in and he says the Wally ball game will be a sellout if the Stamps make all his former coaches and players pay for a ticket. Well, maybe they didn't all like him. The players anyways. I mean, what about the guys that he cut? Will The Rock be there? John Ohm says, can't wait for the Masters. The best darn golf tourney in the world. So we got a lot to get to in hour two coming up after this brief pause right here on Game Plus Television and Key Radio.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The race for the Cantera Seeds Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Do you believe in sports curses? Mike White, who's supposed to be the next big thing with the Jets, goes down in the first quarter, but they're saying there's got to be a curse on the Jets. And our question to you, the viewers, is do you believe in sports curses? Can't make up my mind whether I believe in them or not. Because on one hand, I say the harder you work, the luckier you get. But on the other hand, I'm very spiritual and believe there's a plan and all the rest, so I don't know.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you, Rick Regan. Hello, everybody. Welcome inside your favorite daytime sports talk show, certainly Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, coming to you on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio down there in Atlanta, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Live. And by virtue of some of the comments that are coming in and the real-time stats, we can see that there's more viewers now than an hour ago. How about that? They've just tuned us in. So let's bring in the Moose. He's in Toronto. And we're going to get to that Masters talk. I got a lot of thoughts. I hope you're ready for it, Moose. Clearly you do as well. We did settle this for all and sundry for the hockey people and the real deep hockey enthusiasts that are noting that Landon DuPont was on Monday named the next second ever Western Hockey League exceptional player. The first was Connor Bedard. Number 2 is Landon DuPont. He is not related to Darren, but you could be like those that lie and say that you are related. We know those people that do that. I just want to say hey to Jen. She's checking. Big Oilers fan. Good morning, y'all. Jordan S. in Calgary. Hi, all. Before we get to the Masters talk, did you see near the end of hour 1 where I was saying we should start thinking and talking about who's going to be the coach of the year in the National Hockey League, if you actually want to even be that, because I think last year, I think it was Lindy Ruff, right? Got fired this year. But I think it's a conversation that's worthwhile having. I'm not saying it should be Patrick Roy right now, but he's done a hell of a job since replacing Lane Lambert. Who off the top of your mind is the coach of the year in the NHL?
Well, my mind, I go straight to Rick Tocchet as a front runner for me, and what he's done first in the Pacific. For Chris Knobloch in Edmonton, the turnaround that they've had, how do we say that that's not attributed, or at least a large part, into the coaching change that was made? Do I think the coach was the problem in Edmonton? No, probably not. But he has to have had some contribution. But for me, it's probably Rick Tocchet. Consistently, Vancouver has been one of the best teams in the NHL.
The criteria is this from NHL.com. The Jack Adams Award is given annually to a head coach adjudged to have contributed to the most to his team's success, unquote, in the National Hockey League. So it's not exactly what I was saying, who overachieved the most. In a way it is. It's a different way of saying it. And it was not a discussion I expected to have coming into the program today. I'm just a huge Patrick Roy fan since everybody knows I'm a goalie guy. Since he came in as a rookie in 1986, led Montreal to the Stanley Cup. He's got fire. And people that have fire can recognize that in other people. I didn't know why he was not in the National Hockey League, and then finally somebody gives him a chance, and look what he's doing. Can't argue with Tocchet, though. He's got fire, too. Look in his eye. And I like what you say about Knobloch up in Edmonton as well. I mean, it's just an insane profession that I would want no part of at all. As you say, did Jay Woodcroft deserve to be fired? Who knows, but the team was underachieving, so off with your head. It's the way it is. And it kind of makes you wonder if he's going to be coaching anywhere ever again as a head coach. These guys always end up somewhere as an assistant coach. Masters. I'll give you your stage in a second. I just want to say this. You know my sponsor, Bob, big golf guy, like huge golf guy. And he loves his college sports, too. So, you know, he was big into March Madness. He was, for a Canadian guy. Because Canadians, no matter what they tell you, they weren't into March Madness till this year, as far as I'm concerned. But I was saying, Bob, going into this past weekend, I saw coverage for the Masters on ESPN. I don't know if they were airing it on ESPN. They got Jeff Darlington, the NFL guy who covers the Dolphins here. He's in Augusta covering the Masters. I feel like the players were all there early, getting their warm-up rounds in. That's the sense. Clearly, I'm not a golf guy, you know. And I said, Bob's like, okay, March Madness is behind us. Masters this week. And, of course, we're all watching hockey. And I said, Bob, they were talking about the Masters last week. And he goes, well, I wasn't watching it. Just get to the golf. I'm like, isn't that it? You know, I said, I think that's an age thing. Enough of the fiddling around. Enough with this dancing around the dance floor and buying drinks. Let's get in the sack. You know, I think it's an age thing. I do. What do you think?
You sense the time is running short, so enough messing around. Let's just get down to it. Don't got days to waste.
I think so.
You know? Yeah, it's interesting. You know, the players get to the Masters. I think they open the course for them as of the past weekend. But it's on. I've been watching the coverage this morning live from the Masters. Golf Channel's got it on. Typically, I'm not watching golf coverage every week of the year, all week long. Masters is different, even more different than the other majors. This is like the most special. It's like the Super Bowl or the Grey Cup. You get the fans who aren't fans all year watching for this 1 week and all into it. You make the food from Augusta, you know, at your house, the pimento cheese sandwiches, and you do all those types of things, the, you know, peach flavored ice cream, all the rest. But it should be fun. It's still, you know, as much fun as it ever has been. I think a big part of it, too, continues to be the LIV versus PGA side of it. John Rahm won this last year. He's back as the defending champ. All the players, you know, Tiger Woods will be back. This is going to be on his calendar. There's 4 Canadians in the field, which is great for viewing interest. And then all the guys, the Dustin Johnsons, the Bryson DeChambeaus, you know, from LIV, Phil Mickelson, will all be back in the field against the PGA guys. So there's a lot of storyline.
Yeah, well, it's just like, I don't know. There's always been the rumors for years, you know, that Tiger and Phil don't get along. That's long before Phil got kicked off the tour and then went to LIV. But do these guys actually hate each other, the PGA guys versus the LIV guys? I don't know. You feel like it's a lot to keep up with. To be honest, it was June that they announced they were merging. And to be honest, I don't follow golf, so I literally thought they merged. And then I was just reading a thing on the weekend in USA Today. No, they didn't. U.S. Congress got involved and said, you can't do that. Antitrust thing, I didn't know. I don't follow it that close. And this is not going to be the Masters show, but regarding the coaches of the year in the National Hockey League, Brent here in Florida writes in, and he says, number 1, Tocchet, number 2, Bonus, number 3, Roy. So I've at least got one of them right. I think we need to remind ourselves, and I think the NHL writers that vote on this do every year, all the coaches are good. I said this at the end of hour one. The NHL is the best of the best. It's the best broadcasters. It's the best coaches. It's the best Zamboni drivers. It's the best mascots. That's a fact. So you're choosing from some guys that have all done a really good job. You know what I mean? But as you say, Tocchet was the first that jumped into your mind. It'd be hard to beat him. And thank you, Brent, for throwing that in your top three. But again, do you even want it? It's like the Jack Adams curse. Yeah. You don't read the YouTube chat, do you? It's probably a good thing that you don't. For your,
I don't.
For
And
your
I let you pick out the best ones.
It's just John from Edmonton says, I'm muting the show during the golf talk. Then he just wrote back, I'm back since your golf talk is over.
How'd you know it was over? If you muted us.
Yeah, exactly. If you are going to turn off your television this week when there's Masters talk, you're going to spend most of your time with your TV off. But I will say this about our industry. And I kind of tend, we all look in our own little vacuum and think, oh my God, there's so much competition. You know, Serena's in the fitness industry. There's a lot there. Our friend Brent in Florida is in the meat protein supply. There's a lot of competition there. Everybody's got a lot of competition. But I think now, in this world of media, there's more television channels than ever before. There's more podcasts than ever before. So to have been able to grow in this time is a pretty amazing thing, which we've been able to do. And I thank our audience for that, because clearly they like what we're doing, and this wonderful team of the RP show on IKS and Game Plus and Key Radio. That's all I want to say. Point being, you can watch Masters for the last week if you want to. I don't want to. Even golf people are getting sick of it. But you got to fill the hours with something. So anyways, let's play our breakaway bets. We got time. What do you say? You down?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Darren and I tied last night. Darren and I tied. There was only 2 games, and we each had 1 right. Interestingly enough, though, I was thinking about this. You got the Leafs wrong. You always get the Leafs wrong. You know that, right?
Every time I get them wrong. And it's 111, by the way, as we're saying that.
How about that?
Well, I want the audience to know, if they don't already, Darren's a Leaf fan. I think that I am set up perfectly in life at the age of 51 that I don't have an NHL team that I cheer for. I wear the Panthers stuff. That's because I live here. But Serena, almost every week on the Cats and Bolts podcast, chastises me. Well, you don't have a team. So what? How's that a bad thing? I did, and everybody that watches this show and the deep hockey people that know my history know why I don't have a team. So we're not going to go there. Triggered. But it helps me analyzing. I don't have the feelings that you have. My feelings are numb. They were ripped out and stomped on the ground. Darren still loves his Leafs. And therefore, he can't bet on them properly. And they are playing tonight, but we'll get to that in a second.
Bingo.
Washington at the Detroit Red Wings. Who wins?
I like
Straight
the
up.
Capitals tonight to snap that losing streak.
Not me. I'm going to go with Detroit. In the game of the night. Oh, this should be a doozy. The Ottawa, whatever I was going to say, at the Florida Panthers, the Battle of the Kachucks. Who wins straight up?
Yeah, I'll take Florida tonight.
Yeah, they need to straighten this ship, and Ottawa's not really playing for anything. Philadelphia at Montreal. Can I go first? I'm taking the Habs.
Whoa, I'm taking the Flyers. I think the Flyers, they're in that race. This is a chance to gain some ground potentially.
They are, but it's like Tortorella's just steering the ship right into the rocks. That's the sense that I get. The Toronto Maple Leafs at the New Jersey Devils. Who wins?
I'll take the Leafs. Back-to-back games I think they'll keep it going.
Good. Darren always picks the Leafs wrong, so I will take the New Jersey Devils.
Dang it.
Subway Series. The New York Rangers at the New York Islanders. That's a pretty good game. Who you like?
I like the Rangers tonight.
I'm going to agree. They're going after their next win will be a franchise record. Who's the donkey that picked him to miss the playoffs? Oh, yeah, me. Columbus at Tampa Bay.
Tampa.
What do you say? Yeah, me too. I just may. Carolina at Boston. Who do you like?
That's a tough one for me. I'll take Carolina, and we're not talking at all about Rod Brindamore for Coach of the Year.
Perfect. I'm taking Boston. The Buffalo Sabres at the Dallas Stars in a rematch of the 1999 Stanley Cup Final. Who wins?
I think it's Dallas.
Me too. The Winnipeg Jets at the Nashville Predators. Who wins?
That's a good game, man. I'll take the Jets. I don't think Nashville's the same team they were a week ago.
I'm going to take Winnipeg as well, because I'm very big in Winnipeg, if you hadn't heard. Minnesota at Colorado. Who do you like?
I'll take, I took Minnesota last time they played. I'll take Colorado. I won't make that mistake again.
×2. Arizona Coyotes at the Seattle Kraken. I would think a coyote would eat a Kraken alive, and for that reason, I'm going to take the Coyotes. How about you?
I'm with you on that. I'm going to take Arizona as well.
The Los Angeles Kings at the Anaheim Ducks.
King.
Me too. They still got a lot to play for.
Yep.
And finally, two teams that do not. The Calgary Flames at the San Jose Sharks. Who pulls that one out?
I want to say Calgary, but I'm going to say San Jose. I'm going to say the Shark.
I'll take Flames for my Flames people if that's what we want. I don't even know what they want. Darren says Sharks, I say Flames. And the reason I say that, I saw a clip the other day on social media of Craig Conroy, the general manager, having to have balance between wanting to win games and play well versus a nice way of tanking and saying getting a better draft position. What a horrible place to be. Randy in Winnipeg, regarding the fact that I don't cheer for one NHL team, Randy says, it's Darren, Utah Darren. He says, Rod doesn't have a team. He has 32 teams. That's a fact. I got into that discussion with Matthew Barnaby when he was on NHL radio. It's way easier to analyze when you're not cheering for one team. Same thing with CFL coverage. Randy from Winnipeg says, how about Jim Hiller or Andrew Brunette as Coach of the Year? Well, Jim Hiller took over an LA Kings team that wasn't even out of a playoff spot. I'm still not sure they needed to fire Todd, other than they saw where it was going and they didn't like it, but it's not like he did save the Titanic. Andrew Brunette would probably get some votes. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But the sexy vote, Nashville doesn't ever win anything. For that matter, neither does Vancouver. But because they're a Canadian team, I think Rick Tocchet will win it. We'll be right back. We'll open the phones. The text lines, that is, 902-518-3033, and the YouTube chat. And on the way, Andy McNamara to talk a little ball later on in hour 2. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
902 518 3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
The race for the Cantera Seat Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hey. Reward your love of movies. Sign up for Landmark Extras for free today. Get more of what you love. Free movies and concession items, invitations to exclusive screenings, special events, and more. There are 3 rewarding programs for you to choose from for your lifestyle. Go to landmarkcinemas.com for details. Please bring in the Moose, and I'll tell the audience right now that for the last 1 hour and 20 minutes, we've talked about whatever we want to talk about. So I'm going to turn it over. What did I tell you? Open phones. Turning it over to the audience, 902-518-3033 right now, brought to you by Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic craft beers. Ask for them by name at your local beer, wine, and spirit store. And Moose Clark, I don't know if you probably heard, he came over our earphones coming out of the break and said that a sea kraken is actually bigger than a ship. Did you say? Fortunately, they eat ships. Yeah, but they're not real, right? They're not. Nobody's actually seen one. They're okay. They're not even real. He says the mythology behind them is that they eat ships. So he said, obviously, that would eat a coyote, but at least coyotes are real. Did you know that about Kraken? I did not, Darren. I don't think anybody knew what a Kraken was until they got a hockey team.
I know. I think most people didn't really realize. I kind of had an idea that it was pretty big. But you know what? The lion is always eating things that are bigger than him, right? So you know what? Why can't the coyote take down the Kraken? Besides, the Kraken gets out on the land. What's he going to do? He's not going to be able to breathe. So,
yeah. Hey, I'm learning a lot of things. And by the way, got to bring in the comments. They've rallied with viewer comments here when asked. But I do want to say I'm learning a whole lot. We have all these new viewers. I feel like with episode number 1,218, they should know everything about this show and everything about me and everything about Darren, but they don't. But we're two rural Saskatchewan kids. There was no water around me anywhere to be found. So number one, reason I'm getting to this, I learned, what do they call these? Manatees. Manatees. You've heard of them, Darren, but I had no idea what they were. But here they call them sea cows. They're the size of a cow, and they're in the ocean, and they're like among you. So like they tell the boats to slow down when they're close to the shore because you're going to hit a manatee, you're going to hurt the manatee, and you can cause serious problems to your boat as well. Sea cows. That's here. But then on the weekend, we were having brunch at our friend Thad's at the beach house, and I was with a nice young gal, one of Serena's best friends, Kristen. I said, where are you from? She goes, Washington State. I said, where in Washington State? She goes, Bellevue. I'm like, oh, yeah, Seattle area. She's like, you've heard of Bellevue? I'm like, I've been everywhere, man. And I said, that's a suburb of Seattle. Used to be with a hockey team for 20 years that went through there. We played the Thunderbirds, and we had a big old visit. And I just said, what brings you down here? And she said, yachting. In Seattle, they got a lot of water, but nobody wants to go in the water. So there is your National Geographic story time for the day. But yeah, I've been everywhere. It's been great. And this is where I like the best. That's why I'm here. Bill writes in, Bill Edwards, the gentleman who gave me the Ron and Don bobblehead. He says, morning crew, how about the Leafs? I picked that score. Now go Leafs, go tonight. Leafs fans are going to be real hard to deal with this spring because I have a sense, and harder than normal. Yeah, are you prepared, by the way? You were in Toronto. No, you weren't. Last playoffs, were you? You didn't get there till June.
No. And I know, like the city's going to go nuts as you would anticipate. I don't think going down to Maple Leaf Square and being in the madness is in the cards for me. I might, the guys are probably listening, I might go and hang out at Game Plus up in the tower and just watch from above because I think that might be a little too much going down there. But it might be cool to experience, to be in an NHL market. Hey, you're doing the same thing. You're in an NHL market. And there was a lot of buzz during the playoffs. You sent me photos of the tailgates and the buzz being around. So there is something cool about being in a city when the team is good, the playoffs are going on, and all the rest. So, you know what? It could be really cool. I hope it's a lot of fun.
Oh, dang. It's fantastic being in an NHL market this time of year for sure. It's interesting because I look at our Calgary viewers. Jordan S. writes in, he says, we need our Flames to lose. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says the Flames are playing for YYC pride. That's the sucky thing, and that's what I like about this show. We're not tied to talking to non-playoff teams when they're not relevant right now. Hopefully the Flames are back next year, but it's another year out of the playoffs for them. Here, by the way, just so you know, Thad didn't like my prognostication for the Panthers. I could very easily see them lose in round one. They're lined up against the Leafs. It's not like last year. They didn't have home ice in any series. They surprised everybody. And now they're not surprising anybody. And they're on a skid of losers of 7 of their last 9. Now, they routed Ottawa the other night 6-0. Was a bit of a slut buster, but this is the Florida Panthers. And then they went into Boston and lost in overtime and took some stupid penalties and played like a bunch of jackwagons. They got, I think it's 5 games to figure it out. Whereas the Leafs, I've been saying it, they look really good. And let's be honest, I'm sure the vast majority of our viewers are Leaf fans. Let me hear from you, particularly if we don't normally hear from you. 902-518-3033. You could actually pick up the phone and text me. People like Clark and yourself, even you guys are different than you normally. You're not talking about the Stanley Cup, and that worries me. Normally it's, we're so great, we won Florida. And then, And we're not hearing that. Scares the hell out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You kind of learn your lesson a little bit. And when you learn your lesson and you get serious about it, that's when you can be a little bit scary. Now, the fans have nothing to do with it. You need to see the team needs to show that. But that's what makes the playoffs so much fun. For every one of these teams that gets in the playoffs, they all got a brand new outlook. They all got a brand new life, fresh perspective, and anything's possible, which is fun.
Jen from the Four Seasons says, I'm enjoying the Flames not being in the playoffs. Keeps my Flame friends quiet. Oh, yeah. We've discussed that. That's the difference between Flames fans and Oilers fans. When the Flames fans are not winning and they're out of the playoffs, it's we got to go do a welfare check on them. Hello? Is anybody home in there? It's like that body that you haven't heard from them for a couple weeks. Are they alive? Because the Oilers fans, when they're out, my God, you can't shut them up. Fire this guy. Fire that guy. McDavid's not going to sign. Draisaitl's not going to sign. Ah! I don't know what's worse. Ron in Calgary writes in, he says, for the playoffs, go Canucks, Jets, Leafs, not Oilers. He's a Flames fan. Ron in Calgary, as I said. I'm not sure how we got sucked into talking about that. Randy from Winnipeg says, it was hard watching the Leafs-Pens game last night. The announcers are so biased. Just like Jack Edwards in Boston. I don't know, Darren. I was kind of talking. I told you I watched 9 hours of hockey on the weekend. And I love just in one day. That was 3 games back to back to back. And Serena and I were talking about that CBC strike 20 some odd years ago. Do you remember that? You were in high school where the announcers went on strike. Everybody went on strike at CBC, but they still aired the games. They still brought in, I guess, a replacement worker to run the camera for CFL games, and I think there must have been NHL games. And I remember, as a professional broadcaster at the time, being somewhat offended because people said, I like this better. There's no announcers. Just watch the game. It's better. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. And now here's me 20 years later watching the games without the sound on. And I don't hide it. And if there are some play-by-play people that are upset, I don't care. But I don't hear from this, like Randy in Winnipeg saying the announcer's biased. There's this. I don't care because I don't hear it. It's the greatest thing. Do you think it'll catch on? And do you think announcers have the right to be mad at me for that stance? And should I care? Over to you.
No, of course not. Because the game is better with the announcers. That's my thought. And we can have differing opinions on that. You enjoy the game you want to enjoy it. I'll enjoy the game the way I want to enjoy it. And you know what? If you think it's biased, it means you're not enjoying the game. You're not going to watch, right? If I think it's, not great, I'm not going to watch. So obviously the networks are going to do what they need to do to make sure that the game is entertaining for the most people to watch. They want to drive numbers. So they're going to do what caters to the masses, right?
One thing I do notice from online chat, which I've largely tuned out, particularly bitching Jays fans, but is they do love talking about the announcers. And they've really blown up the crews. But there are certain people that I really want to see. Do you know what I mean? And I will turn the sound up for Mark Messier. I'll turn the sound up for Kelly Rudy, largely because he's a friend. He's got a lot more bite than he used to, but Messier the most. I want to hear what Messier has to say because everything he says is wise. I don't think they could muzzle him if they tried. And he's not going to say anything controversial. He's never been that guy. Is there one guy or gal that you just say, I got to hear what they have to say in today's landscape?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of them. Like like in football circles in the NFL, and I just love watching the Fox crew. That's my crew. So I want to tune them in. I want to hear what they have to say. I watch ESPN, as do you. Rex Ryan for me is somebody I see him on the screen. Like, I got to hear what Rex has to say today. I want to hear what Rex. In hockey, I go around the horn. I'm really liking Kevin Bieksa when he's on. So I want to hear what he has to say. In the U.S. side of it, Messier's amazing. When we get to see him on ESPN, I love it. Biz, another guy, I love to hear what he has to say. And then obviously, everybody seems to want to tune into Shaq and Charles Barkley. Whenever they're on, I got to hear what those two have to say. So there's a few that are
another
appointed
level
programming. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the best of any sport. There's more. I'm going to have to drop it in overtime, and I won't make you come back for that. So, Moose, thanks for this. I appreciate it.
You bet. Enjoy the day.
Folks, get your NFL questions ready. Andy McNamara joins us next. You know him, you love him. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
I like it.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
One of hip-hop's finest, Ice Cube.
You better check yourself or you wreck yourself, 'cause I'm bad.
Straight into Canada tour. April 28th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I can't believe today was a good day.
Among the most influential rappers of all time, Ice Cube. On sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, the RP Show continues here live on Game Plus Television, and it's always a pleasure to bring in our good friend Andy McNamara, National Fantasy Football host, betting host, and Woodbine Entertainment host. Andy, I'm going to start right there, if you don't mind. How are you, my friend, and how are the great people, our friends at Woodbine these days?
Rod, great to be back with you, man. And doing great. Got the new season starting up end of April, so that's huge. The Kentucky Derby's ready to roll, and King's Plate will be here before you know it. So horse racing, it's great because there's always some form of exciting horse racing going somewhere across the world: Japan, California, Canada, whatever.
I know that for a fact, and I'll tell you what, it really threw me for a loop last year. The King's Plate, Oh,
I know, right?
Yeah. It's a king.
It changes.
Yeah, it's a king now. Yeah, and they got it back at its regular time and all that. You know what? We'll have to bring you back when the race season does start up, and let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But you are a football guy, and before we get to your beloved Browns and some questions I have for the AFC North, I'm interested to know if you're dabbling in the NFL draft in terms of betting there, and how much you're enjoying the mock drafts, and how much we can even believe what we're reading here as we're less than a month away from the NFL draft.
Oh, I love the NFL draft, Rod. For me, it starts at the Senior Bowl, goes through the Combine, and leads right up. Because there's always those players that the casual fan never hears of, and then all of a sudden they burst up. And sometimes that's a good surprise, like a Josh Allen a few years ago, who nobody was talking about that August, and all of a sudden shoots up. Or it can be a negative surprise, like let's say a Zach Wilson going second overall to the Jets. Didn't work out so well. So I'm tracking this draft class. This quarterback group is very interesting to me because, Rod, I think this has maybe the biggest chance in a while to have the biggest clump of success or busts in that first round. We're hearing up to 6 quarterbacks could go in the first round, which would be outrageous.
4 in the top 5 from the last mock draft that I saw, because J.J. McCarthy has weaseled his way in there. As a matter of fact, if you've spent, you love it, but you're analyzing it too. Let's just say the top 5. Who goes where, do you think?
Caleb Williams is going first overall to the Bears. That's a given. Now, I'll tell you this, Rod. If you can mark this, clip it, stamp it. I think we talk 2 years down the road, the Chicago Bears are looking for another quarterback. I'm not buying Caleb Williams as a true franchise quarterback. The skill set's there, but I think everything from the personality to the arrogance to if something goes wrong in the NFL, and it can go wrong quick, do you have the mental cojones to step up and deal with it? I don't think he does. So that's why, for me, I like Jaden Daniels better. And if it wasn't for the knee injuries, Rod, give me Michael Penix Jr. all day. I think if you could erase those injuries, that guy would be my first overall pick, but you can't. And if somehow he can stay healthy, we might be talking about in a couple years that, wow, that Penix guy, how the heck did he fall to X number in the draft?
So you're saying Jaden Daniels number 2, Drake May, I'm assuming number 3?
I like Drake May because he reminds me a bit of Justin Herbert coming out, in that there's stuff you can pick at. And with Herbert as well, like I remember clearly, Herbert at the Combine, like, man, I don't know, he's not very decisive. And then all it took was one wrong doctor needle to the chest of poor Tyrod Taylor. Herbert's in, and he's lighting it up. I feel sort of that same athleticism, big arm type with Drake May. So I would put Drake May in that number 3 spot. I think J.J. McCarthy's probably going to go next. I think J.J. McCarthy, Rod, this is a Mac Jones 2.0. I can find you a J.J. McCarthy any year in the draft in the 3rd round. I'm not impressed. Bo Nix, age-wise, concerns me a bit. I think he could be serviceable, maybe fall into a little bit of that Kirk Cousins level where he'll be good, but nothing too great. So I think really it falls off after those top 3.
Well, I'm a J.J. McCarthy fan.
Are you?
For my own reason. You want to talk? Why you want to talk maturity? You want to talk about maturity, things he's overcome to lead Michigan to a national championship. Has shown he can run a pro-style offense based on what he did with Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. So I'm just pulling for J.J. McCarthy. But you know what's interesting here, though? You look at. You don't want to miss when you have a shot. Like if you're New England and you have as high a pick as this. Like Mac Jones went 15th. They've already tossed him aside. So you don't want to miss. Yet, when you've got Brock Purdy, a Mr. Irrelevant, starting the Super Bowl, what does that say? What does that say? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it says that you keep swinging at quarterbacks. And we've seen NFL teams in recent years really not be phased if you miss. Okay, missed on that first-round quarterback. Guess we'll go get another one, right? It just, you have to keep trying until you get it right. And the reason is that rookie contract is so valuable to build around. We're seeing with the Houston Texans right now. You get C.J. Stroud, their window bursts open after his rookie year. That's why they're adding Stephon Diggs. With that deal, before you get the huge numbers, $200-300 million, whatever it might be, this is your window to go get it. So NFL teams are just so thirsty to go reach for a quarterback. We could see that. And for teams that don't need a QB, that just benefits them so much because this is a super deep wide receiver class, offensive line as well. So there's going to be some really good players that drop because someone reaches for a QB.
We had Mo Egger on here yesterday from ESPN Cincinnati. He's become a good friend, and we talked about the AFC North. We've long, I think everybody agrees, if it's not the toughest division, it's one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. But now it's become the most entertaining with the personalities that have come into that division. What do you think? Agree or disagree with that?
I totally agree. You can make an argument, Rod, and I don't know if you can do this for any other division. You can make an argument for any team in that division to finish first or last and not sound crazy about it. Right? Like the Steelers might be a level below that, but you bring in Russell Wilson. Boy, if he gets his feet back, you're in good shape, right? Joe Burrow returning from injury, Lamar Jackson back again, Deshaun Watson. The team around the Browns is phenomenal. Can Deshaun finally get back and stay healthy? Lots of questions from each team, but talent-wise across the board, that division just cannibalizes each other.
Well, I'm just wondering, because you're the Browns guy, but looking over at what Pittsburgh did, just cleaning out their quarterback room, I think that takes major balls. And I don't know if that was Tomlin. I don't know if that was Mr. Rooney. I don't know who that was. But I've never seen that before. We just wipe out your quarterbacks and bring in two new ones and say, let's see how this goes.
Rod, they were so bad. And that's why I never bought in with the Steelers saying, we're going to go for it. Look, as a Browns fan, I was like, please go forward with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. Yes, I want that. But nobody in their right mind, the Steelers, despite my disdain for them as a Browns fan, are a very smart organization. They knew baby hands Kenny Pickett wasn't doing it. They knew Mason Rudolph wasn't doing it. Trubisky wasn't doing it. You have a team that has a lot of talent that, despite those quarterbacks, finished above 500. Despite that, they had no business finishing above 500, but Tomlin's that good of a coach and that culture's there to build it. So now you bring in Russell Wilson as all right, can this guy get it back on try 3 on his third team? If he doesn't, I got Justin Fields, who still has a lot of potential, but he's going on his X number of coordinator head coach. You have two quarterbacks that could really pop, and you have outs for each one if they don't. So that's why I think it's a good move. If these two don't work out, or one doesn't, Pittsburgh can start again.
We almost reached the end of our time, but I want to ask you about this new venture you've got going. It's on the Fight Network, but it's not the Fight Network anymore. Tell me more.
I'm helping to spread the word a little bit, Rod, about Triller TV. So on social at Fight TV, FITE TV. But if you're a Fight fan or the viewers are Fight fans, this is something where you're able to get such a combo of combat sports, like All Elite Wrestling, which is my favorite wrestling company right now. You get Samoa Joe, Chris Jericho, all the greats. They had a pay-per-view on Sunday, April 21st on Triller TV in US and Canada, international markets. But you got these other sports too. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, World Sumo Championship. And Rod, I'm watching some of this. I'm like, sumo? I'll give it a shot. And I'm like, holy cow, this is pretty cool. The bare knuckles of boxing from around the world, other wrestling. It's all right there. You got the Triller TV Plus subscription or the pay-per-views. It's just, look, if you're a fight fan, check it out. There's just a lot of cool stuff going on.
Sounds good, Andy. I appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the NFL draft. We'll chat afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. You too, Rod. Talk to you.
Andy McNamara joining us from Woodbine, National Fantasy Football host. There's a lot of things this guy's got going on. We'll be right back with Overtime. And if you have any comments on today's show, now's the time. We're heading into the last segment right after this here on the Game Plus TV network. WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The race for the Cantera Seat Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seats Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Thank you, Rick Regan. Indeed, don't just sit there. Now is the time. You've got almost 7 minutes to rate me. 902-518-3033, Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic text line. non-alcoholic craft beers, but the text line is non-alcoholic too. Ask for them by name at your local beer, wine, and spirit store. And you got time to vote on the poll here. It is, what is the game of the night in the NHL? And well, I think this is the Jets Nation, if that's a thing, is being heard from. Their vote, Winnipeg, Nashville is leading. Washington, Detroit is next at number 2, and then an even tie in third spot. Carolina at the Boston Bruins and the Rangers at the Islanders. It's a very busy night, 13 games in the National Hockey League. I hope you've enjoyed us talking about all of them on today's program. And here in this overtime, we are brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where they watch us every day, and they welcome you down there to check it out, where skill and fun collide. I bet you Landon DuPont's probably been down there, the WHL's next exceptional player. 28th Street Northeast in Calgary. An amusement park for hockey players, that's all I got to say. Scott Stanley is watching us on Game Plus television in St. Albert, Alberta. And he has an answer for my question of who's the one guy or gal that you need to see on an intermission panel or a pregame panel, or for that matter in the broadcast booth. For me, I said it's Mark Messier. When he's on ESPN, I turn it up. I want to hear what Mess has to say. Scott in St. Albert, ironically the home of Mark Messier, is it? He writes in, he says, I enjoy listening to Kevin Bieksa. He says, and the Leafs always look good at this time of year. LOL. You got me. That's probably true, yeah. But something seems different this year. That's all I'll say. I'm not going out on any limbs, but I would not want to play them in the playoffs. I'll tell you that. I wouldn't. These are going to be fun playoffs, aren't they? John Ohm in Winnipeg. Ohm says, isn't NHL parity at an all-time high? I don't know, is it? The Flames will tell you no. Thank you, Randy. Or is that Michelle at Overtime Hockey Lanes? He says, the invite is out to Landon DuPont. I'm telling you, this was the big news in junior hockey, and for the NHL fans that really care. The next Bedard, and I only say that because he's the next exceptional player, was named yesterday. His name's Landon DuPont. He's able to play at the age of 15. Landon DuPont. He looks 30. He just looks like a star. To be honest, the photo I saw of him, because I'd never seen him play, he looks 6'4". I guess he's only 5'11". Not that that's a bad thing at 14 now. But, hey, if he shows up at Overtime Hockey Lanes, you send me the picture, Randy. What a great spot that is. The Oilers goal. No, the sports update. The Toronto Blue Jays can even their season record at 6-6 with a win over the visiting Seattle Mariners tonight. The Jays beat the Mariners 5-2 in their home opener at Rogers Center Monday. Toronto starts Chris Bassett on the mound against the Mariners' George Kirby. The Toronto Raptors play their final home game of the season tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Toronto's won 2 straight after snapping a 15-game losing streak on Friday in Milwaukee. The Raptors traveled to Brooklyn Wednesday night before finishing off the season with a pair of games in Miami. Yeah, Friday, Sunday. I may go. Sunday's a noon tip-off at the Casilla Center. Trying to round up some of the boys. Canada's women's soccer team takes on the USA in the final of the She Believes Cup in Columbus tonight. The game is a rematch of last month's Gold Cup semifinal, which the U.S. won on penalty kicks. This sports update brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Wednesdays are made for movie twosomes. You don't need to be Jack and Rose, Han and Chewie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or even Miss Piggy and Kermit to get 2 admissions, 2 medium fountain drinks, a large popcorn, and your choice of candy for one great low price. But you will need to call your bestie, find a date, text your sibling, or invite mom out because this deal is worth sharing. Landmark Cinemas movie twosome every Wednesday. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtimes. And the sports update also brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. Jen at the Four Seasons says, will Everett take him with the first pick? Whoever's got the first pick is going to take him. There are those that are saying he's better than Bedard, which I don't know how you can legitimately say that, especially when he's a defenseman and Bedard's a forward, two completely different players. But hey, people are going to talk, right? Block out the noise, block out the noise, block out the noise. A big thank you to Josh Getzoff, the radio voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, for joining us. Oh, and I had this story about Brian Trottier I wanted to get to. That's going to have to wait till tomorrow. Andy McNamara from Woodbine was with us an hour or two talking a lot of NFL. It was a great day, and enjoy the games, everybody. Whatever you choose, we'll do it all again tomorrow right here on Game Plus TV and Key Radio. Be safe, everybody.
Who has more fun than us?